He fired her without looking her in the eyes, just for being black. Not a word, not a chance, on her first day of work. What he didn't know was that she was a witch. And that same night, his life began to fall apart. Contract by contract, scream by scream, until he was on his knees, begging for forgiveness. Get ready. This story won't be forgotten. It all started on a Monday at 7:53 a.m. The elevator of Building 14A in downtown Atlanta opened to receive the employees of Vander & Company, a marketing consultancy known for its toughness and for something no one said out loud. Most of its employees were white, slim, and spoke like they all came from the same college fraternity. Lena Okoro arrived on time. Impeccable shoes, a mustard yellow tailored suit that contrasted beautifully with her dark brown skin, and long, neatly styled braids. She carried a black folder with her certifications and a polite smile. Her resume had impressed human resources, which is why she was hired to urgently fill a data analyst vacancy. At 8:05, Lena knocked on the boss's door. His name was Richard Vandermoor. In his 50s, cold stare, lips always tight, and a Rolex watch that seemed heavier than his conscience. Richard didn't look up when Lena entered. He barely muttered, "You're the new one?" "Yes, sir." "Lena Okoro. A pleasure." At that moment, Richard looked up. He frowned, scanned her from head to toe, pausing at her skin, her braids, and her wine-colored nails. He said nothing. He just picked up his phone, dialed HR, and muttered something Lena barely caught. Who the hell approved this woman? 20 minutes later, Lena stood next to the elevator with a letter in hand. Termination due to administrative error in the hiring process. On her first day, no explanation, no chance to speak. They simply told her she wasn't the right fit. And she left, walked through the lobby with dry eyes, her body trembling, and her heart turned to stone. Not for the first time, but yes, for the last. What Richard didn't know, what no one knew, was that Lena Okoro didn't just have a master's in data science. She was also a witch, a real one, the kind that didn't need cauldrons or Latin spells. Just a candle, a mirror, and the name of the one who deserved justice. That night, Lena sat in front of her grandmother's mirror, a white candle lit, and a piece of paper with 5 black-inked letters, Richard. And she began, the spell to give him what he deserved. 2 days later, the AC on the 17th floor broke down. Only in his office. His coffee tasted like dirt. His email started auto-completing phrases like, "I was wrong," and "sorry for being a miserable man." And sometimes his computer opened a photo by itself. Lena's intake photo, but with blank eyes and lips sewn shut with thread. He thought it was a virus. Called IT. They checked. Nothing. Then it was his wife. She left him without saying why. Then the contract started collapsing. Clients disappeared, and his bank account had a mysterious $50,000 withdrawal. No one authorized it. No one explained it. But the transaction read, "Donation T.O. Lena Okoro." Then one day, he came down to the lobby and saw Lena, sitting on the couch, reading a book, dressed in white, serene, as if nothing had happened. Richard froze, swallowed hard. "W, what are you doing here?" He stammered. "Waiting for you to admit what you did," she replied, without looking up. The receptionist glanced over, puzzled. No one else seemed to notice the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Richard tried to speak, but his throat closed up. Literally. He clutched his neck, gasping, dropped to his knees. "All I ask is that you tell the truth," Lena said, finally meeting his eyes. "Here, now." With trembling hands, he stammered. "I was wrong. I was a damn racist. I didn't give you a chance. Please, please, Lena. I'm sorry." She stood up, walked over, leaned in slightly. "I'm not done with you yet, Richard. But now, finally, we can truly begin. Richard no sabía si estaba cenando os su cuerpo simplemente estaba entrando en pánico. Sincha el suelo frío bajo las rodillas. Y aunque la recepcionista lo miraba de reojo, Nadia se acercaba. Nadia lo ayudaba. Era como si el mundo entero se hubiera calado para que él escuchara solo la voz de Lena, clara y cortante como vidrio. "Te lo dije. Esto apenas empieza," repitió ella. Tu lo que estás perdiendo, no es casualidad. Lina ese giro y salió por la puerta giratoria con la misma elegancia con la que había legado aqualunes. Richard intentó ponerse de pie, pero el suelo parecía aferrarse a sus radiles. Solo después de unos segundos logró levantarse y arrastrarse hacia el ascensor. Su respiración era agitada. Su camisa empapada de sudor. Esa noche no durmió. Cada vez que cerraba los ojos, la cara de Lina aparecía. A veces lo sonría. Otras simplemente lo observaba en silencio. Cuando por fin logró quedarse dormido una hora, despertó gritando, cubierto de arenazos en el pecho. Pero no había nadie en su habitación. Solo el zumbido constante un mosquito que no lograba encontrar. Y un olor persistente con la quemada. A la mañana siguiente, encontró algo perturbador en su oficina. Su silla giratoria estaba invertida. La pantalla de su computadora mostraba un fondo negro con una línea blanca que parpadeaba. Un archivo en el escritorio titulado TVO. Lo abrió. Era un audio. Y era su propia voz diciendo. No te contratamos porque no eres del perfil. No porque seas negra. No me pongas ese papel de víctima. Aquí no creemos en quotas. Pero el jamás había grabado eso. Jamás lo dijo en voz alta. Lo había pensado. En silencio. Cuando vio a Lina por primera vez. Sintió náuseas. Corrió al baño. Vomitó sangre. Mientras tanto, Lina se había mudado a un pequeño apartamento en la zona sur. Nada ostentoso. Pero en la pared principal colgaba un mapa de hilos rojos. Richard estaba en el centro. Alrededor, papers, nombres de empleados, clients, y miembros del directorio de Vander & Company. Cada vez que alguien de esa lista comisa una injusticia, su hilo se incendia ligeramente. No para destruirlos, no on solo para observar. Porque Lina no solo era una bruja. También era paciente. Ese jueves, una asistente de recursos humanos llamada María, la única latina en todo el piso 17. Ese contacto con ella. Por LinkedIn. Un mensaje simple. Hola Lina. Solo quería que supieras que renuncie. Va lo que hicieron contigo y lo siento. Si algún día necesitas una recomendación, aquí estoy. Lina respondió solo con un emoji de flor. Pero el hilo que había de María a Richard se deshizo. Las cosas en la oficina empeoraron. Las luces de la sala de juntas empezaban a parpadear cada vez que Richard entraba. Durante una reunión con inversionistas, la pantalla proyectó sin aviso un correo interno donde él se refería a una empleada como demasiado negra para estar en recepción. Nadie supo cómo apareció. Nadie supo quién lo envió. Pero la inversión cayó. Su reputación empezó a corroerse. Llamadas sin respuesta. Abogados que no contestaban. Y una carta de renuncia tras otra legaban cada día a su escritorio. Hasta que en viernes por la tarde, su propio hermano, vicepresidente de la empresa, entró y cerró la puerta. ¿Qué carajo estás haciendo, Richard? Todo el mundo está largando. ¿Sabes qué están diciendo? Que tienes un problema con cierta gente. Que alguien está llegando contigo. ¿Tú qué sabes de eso? Richard encogió en su silla. No podía decir la verdad. ¿Cómo lo haría? Que había despedido a una mujer en su primer día por racismo y que ahora ella lo estaba castigando. Nada, solo son rumores. Todo era gloria. Y veras. Pero en su interior, sabía que no era gloria. Porque esa misma noche, en su casa vacía, volvió a encontrar un sobre. Sin remitente. Lo abrió con manos temblorosas. Dentro había una sola joya. En el centro, Una palabra escrita en tinta roja. Rodillas. While dorso, una direction. Un café pequeño en la zona sur. Donde Lina solía ir cuando necesitaba leer en paz. While fin lo entendió. Volvió a sentarse. Miró su reflejo en el vidrio. Por primera vez en su vida se sintió débil. Why por primera vez no podía culpar nadie más. That Saturday morning, Richard put on a gray coat. Not because it was cold, it was oppressively hot, but because he felt like something was covering him from the inside. Something dark, heavy, as if he were carrying the full weight of his decisions. He arrived at the cafe at 10:02 a.m. Lina was already seated, as if she'd been waiting for him since before the sun rose. She wore black, no makeup, her gaze steady and untouched. She didn't say a word. Richard approached. "Lina, please," he began. "On your knees," she said calmly. At first, he hesitated, but his legs folded like cut strings. He fell, in the middle of the cafe, in front of everyone. Murmurs rose. Some customers took out their phones. Others simply watched in silence. I fired you because," he tried to say. "Because I'm black," she interrupted. "And because your racism makes you think you get to decide who deserves a chance." Richard swallowed hard. He didn't have the strength to argue. "I've lost everything," he whispered. "My wife, my company, my money. I'm destroyed." "No," Lina corrected. "Now you're exposed. But destroyed, that's up to you. What happened was justice, not revenge." Then she pulled out a small leather notebook. She opened it. On the last page was a name, crossed out in black ink, Richard Vandermoor. Lina tore out that page firmly, folded it in half, and threw it into a small candle she carried in her bag. The paper caught fire instantly. The flame left no ash. "It's over," Lina said, watching the smoke rise. "But what you've learned, that's up to you. So, you're going to leave me alone?" he asked, still on his knees. She leaned in slightly, bringing her face close to his. "You'll know when you stop being afraid of seeing a black woman as anything other than a threat." And she walked away, without looking back. Richard stayed on the floor, knees scraped, heart pounding like never before, with the echo of the one word that had saved him: forgiveness. From that day on, he never looked down on anyone again. And when someone asked why he no longer ran Vander and Company, he simply said, "I had to learn the hard way."